Never waste a good crisis. And when it comes to the economic crisis, don't waste it when it can have a very positive impact.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste.
The way we're going to win over the long term is not just militarily. We've got to win over hearts and minds. And what that means is we've got to invest in countries that have no educational infrastructure, have no means for young people to get ahead. We've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
Stay tuned for politics and religion. Well, the scientists are looking for the God particle. I'll never forget, as a young man going through physics and also through chemistry in high school, they attempted to explain the makeup of the atom, and they explained to us that at the center of the atom, the nucleus, there was protons and neutrons massed together with electrons whirling around outside this nucleus. And they taught us that like charges repel. Of course, protons are called that because they have a positive charge. Electrons have a negative charge. And I remember looking at the diagram of the atom and thinking, now, what keeps those protons together at the center? These electrons are all flying around outside in orbit around the proton, according to what they taught us in chemistry. So what's keeping those protons together? I don't remember whether I ever asked my teacher that or not, but I kept reading, and I found out that nobody can answer that question. They don't understand the force that is holding those things together. And so people have come to call this the God particle. Well, that made a lot of sense to me, because by that time I had reached the conclusion that it was God that held all things together, because the scripture states that the worlds are held in store by the power of his word. That when God said, let it be, then all of the substance of the world has to obey him. And therefore, it is his word that is the force that holds the worlds in store. So that made sense to me, and I was astounded when I saw that the scientists actually were calling it the God particle. Well, all of that has come together very interestingly in the last few days, because scientists are conducting a huge experiment over on a border. Actually, the border is between, it's the Swiss-French border. They have a 17-mile-long collider tunnel, and they have been attempting to collide two protons together to see if they could reenact what they think happened at the time of the Big Bang Theory. Let me tell you a little bit about this story, because they actually refer to the God particle in here. Wild whooping and cheering broke out as scientists celebrated the dawn of a new era of physics yesterday. That happened on March 30th. With the first high-energy collisions at the Large Hadron Collider. In the moments after the images of collisions were beamed into each of the four Large Hadron Collider control rooms, physicists of all ages and nationalities hugged each other, jumped up and down, and popped champagne corks. Heidi Sandaker, a Norwegian physicist, had even brought her baby into work so that her child was there at the moment the collisions took place. After two attempts, on the third attempt, scientists watched the event live from around the world, described it as an historic moment, marking the first step towards addressing some of the deepest mysteries in physics. We are going where nobody has been before. We have opened a new territory for physics, said Oliver Buchmiller, a senior CERN scientist. The atomic particles smashed together in head-on collisions, with each beam having an energy of 3.5 trillion electron volts, 3 times the previous record. By creating ultra-high energy collisions, scientists are mimicking the conditions just after the Big Bang. The 2 proton beams began circulating 10 days ago in opposite directions around a 17-mile tunnel under the Swiss-French border at Geneva. Scientists hope that the LHC, the collider, will eventually find evidence for the existence of the Higgs boson, better known as the God particle, a particle that theoretically explains the origin of mass, but which has never been detected. Now, some people lobbied against this effort. They thought if they succeeded, that it would set off a worldwide atomic reaction and possibly mark the end of the world. Well, this first experiment, that certainly didn't happen, but it's very interesting nonetheless. The LHC seems to have the key to the answers for a lot of things that don't add up. This is Passover week. Passover has been observed by the Jewish people for around 3,500 years. Christians now join with Jews in celebrating Passover as Resurrection Week or Easter. What is this long-observed holiday really all about? We'll explain today on Politics and Religion.
Look, there are 2 things I don't discuss: politics and religion.
In my house, we don't talk about politics and we don't talk about religion.
I'll talk to you about anything except politics and religion.
I never talk about politics and religion.
Politics determines how we'll live here on earth. Religion determines how we'll live forever. I'm Irvin Baxter. I think it's time we talk about it. April the 10th and 11th, Austin,